friends, my name is Justine. I'm the Mermaid Seamstress, and I want to start a conversation about mermaiding and the environment. So before we get started in this video, I want to say a couple of things up front. The first thing is that I want this to be a conversation. I don't mean this to be an attack on anyone or I'm not trying to point fingers. These are topics that I think about and I wanted to bring up with you guys. And if you guys have any feedback for me, responses, or anything to add or share with the community, please feel free to comment anything that you think of relating to this topic down below in the comment section. And also, I encourage you to start this conversation in your communities. Bring it up in your social media channels. And if you want to, you can tag me in those conversations. The links down below will show you my social media handles, and they'll be at the end of this video and probably somewhere on the screen. So what really got me started thinking about this recently was that I heard somewhere that Mermaid Fin Fest was canceled because too many mermaids were outraged that they couldn't wear glitter to the conference. Now, if you guys haven't heard of Mermaid Fin Fest, it was a mermaid convention that was supposed to take place in the beginning of the summer, and it was supposed to focus on conservation, ocean conservation in particular, and just environmental advocacy in general, and how mermaids contribute to that. Mermaid Linden was going to be a speaker. It was going to be this huge thing, and because conventions are a lot of work, and sometimes things just don't work out the way you plan them to. It's not anybody's fault, but it got me thinking about what our job is as mermaids and as representatives of a mythical species which lives in the oceans. What is our part to play in conservation and in environmental activism? And I kind of also want to talk about, what are some of the environmental impacts of mermaiding that I have seen. And I don't necessarily have solutions, but I have, proposals about how we can address these problems or how we can start conversations about these issues. So the first thing I want to say is that even though I don't have a lot of content on this channel, I would like to have more conservation content on this channel, but you'll have to let me know if you're interested in that. Conservation is part of my day job. I am an interpretive naturalist in that I interpret the natural world to guests that come to where I work. And part of that job is talking about the conservation and protection of our environment and the conservation and protection of the areas of the natural world that we're discussing and the world in general. So I'm going to focus mainly today on kind of the crafting process. Since I am the mermaid seamstress, I am a crafter. I do a lot of crafting. I make mermaid tails, and I look into a lot of different people and companies and ways of making mermaid tails. So the first thing I want to talk about is I want to address the glitter comment that, mermaids were upset that they couldn't wear glitter to the conference. And that is an environmental issue. Glitter, traditional glitter is plastic. It is very small pieces of plastic that are reflective. It's seen, obviously in a lot of makeup. It can be very, very fine. To be used in like highlighters, or it can be chunkier glitter to use on tops, in your hair, whatever it might be. Glitter is a big part of the mermaid look. And nowadays there is biodegradable glitter, which is more environmentally friendly. But if we look at traditional glitter, a lot of people say, oh, well, it's not going to, it's glued onto my top, it's fine. If you know glitter, you will know that glitter does not want to stay on the thing that it's supposed to be on. It will get everywhere. So if you're a mermaid that swims in a pool, you have to keep in mind that the water from the pool, when that pool is drained or when it's filtered, will end up in the environment eventually. It's just inevitable. And if you're a mermaid who wears a lot of glitter and you are taking pictures on land, or you're swimming in the ocean, or you're swimming in a fresh body of water, those glitter pieces, those microplastics, are going directly into the environment that you're swimming in. And that can be a big problem for that environment. And even a small amount of glitter contributes to the massive problem of microplastics that we have. Another thing is sequin tails. And sequin tails were a much bigger thing when I started mermaiding 10 years ago than they are today, because of the fact that sequins will fall off. And no matter how securely you glue or sew them, sequins just don't want to stay put, and it's really frustrating. But that's another thing to consider, and that can be another contributor of microplastics. So you kind of have to think to yourself, well, do I want this look of a sequin tail? And nowadays full sequin tails are probably just as expensive as some of the silicone tails are about. But you kind of have to think about that. Are you a mermaid that spends a lot of time in environments that are easy to clean up, like in a classroom or in a hotel lobby, where those microplastics, those plastic sequins, if they fall off, they can get easily cleaned up and they don't go immediately into the environment? Or are you somebody who swims in the ocean? If you're somebody who swims in the ocean all the time, maybe a sequin tail isn't the best choice for you. No matter how careful you are, and that's the tricky part, is no matter how careful you are, those plastics will end up in the ocean. And I've thought about this, and those seem like the obvious ones, but even if you think about the synthetic fabrics that we use as mermaids, polyester, spandex, nylon, all of those contain plastics. And when little fibers wash out, of those tails, whether it's you've been rubbing on rocks or simply water, carrying away loose, even microfilaments of those fibers, that's contributing to microplastics in the ocean. These fibers are also found in synthetic wigs. If you lose hair from a synthetic wig, that's contributing plastics to our environment. And so I've really been thinking recently about what fabrics I'm using and how durable those fabrics are over time, in considering what fabrics I'm trying to use for my tails moving forward. I also use a lot of tails with foil finish or foil like glitter, and I believe that that's also microplastic, or it's micro metals. It's not natural, and if that gets into the environment, what impact does that have? So I've been kind of rethinking my tails. Another thing that's come up recently and that's really popular is sublimation printed tails. So for example, my Shop Vancouver mermaid tail, the Fin Fun tails, I believe, are sublimation printed. The Fin Folk fabric tails are sublimation printed. Mertailor, all of those tails are sublimation printing. And what kind of impact do those dyes, if they leach into the water, does that have an effect on the water? I don't know. Even silicone, silicone's made with certain chemicals and the micro powders that go into making the color shift and the really kind of sparkly colors. Those are all things that can pollute our planet potentially. And that sounds very anti-mermaid for a mermaid to be saying that, but it's all about, I feel like the biggest step in terms of my ability to conserve is how do we balance our negative impact on the environment with what we can do positively. Mermaids are great advocates for child education about conservation and being, green, because we engage that sense of wonder and awe, and we create authority through that. Now, how we use that authority is up to us, right? We can sit there and just look pretty, and that's great. But if we use that opportunity to send a message of hey, let's, you can meet and greet with the mermaid if you bring 3 pieces of recycling. Let's do a beach cleanup. For every half hour of beach cleaning you volunteer for, you can get a mermaid rock or something, a special prize. And how do we engage the audience? You can also, be a personal example. So you yourself start cleaning your beaches, start raising awareness for the issues that you have in your area or on a more global scale. So that's the question that I have for you right now, is think about down below how you can mitigate some of these causes of either pollution, or how you can spread the message about conservation and environmental awareness as a mermaid and in your communities and in your mer communities as well. I would love to hear what you are doing to help save the planet. Make sure to like this video if you found this conversation interesting and helpful, and if you are going to continue this conversation. If you want to see more of my mermaid footage, I usually don't do this, but I usually do everything from swimming videos to mermaid craft tutorials, so don't forget to subscribe down below and comment below if you have any comments, questions, concerns, responses to this conversation. And don't forget to start your own conversations on your social media platforms and tag me in them. I would really appreciate hearing what you have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye, fish friends.